molested a 14-year-old girl. I don't know how true it is. That's why I said I'm not going to jump out the window. I'm not saying none of that until we can find out what's really good. And I don't know if you want to talk or we could set something up Friday tomorrow.
Oh, right now I just think I need to be a monster and hold girls against their will, chain them up in my basement, and don't let them eat and don't let them out unless they need some shoes down the street from their uncle.
Robert.
Stop it. Y'all quit playing. Quit playing.
Robert.
I didn't do this stuff.
I'll tell you this. You know, I ain't no fucking weirdo. You see all the beautiful, voluptuous people I be with.
Yeah.
So I ain't a weirdo.
Y'all quit playing. Quit playing. Robert. I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I got 30 years of my career. Robert. 30 years of my career. And y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me, man. I'm trying to have a relationship with kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
I'm quite sure you see the internet is lit up. People is talking crazy. And
Yeah, I'm just telling you something crazy.
yeah, people are talking crazy that
I'm gonna keep going.
No, we're gonna.
This
let
is
the
not
camera keep
true.
rolling.
This is not, doesn't even make sense. Why would I hold all these women? Their mothers and fathers told me, we're gonna destroy your career. It's real young girls out there being abducted, being raped, okay? They really are on chains. They really do have chains on their wrists, and they can't get out. And they're ending up buried in deep.
Robert, we have to have a conversation. Really, I don't want you just ranting at the camera.
It's real young girls out there being abducted, being raped, okay? They really are on chains. They really do have chains on their wrists, and they can't get out.
Robert,
and they're ending up buried in deep.
Robert, we have to have a conversation. Really, I don't want you just ranting at the camera.
I be that more you gon' remember, be more. I be that more you gon' remember, that town. I be that more you gon' remember, Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember, LA. I be that more you gon' remember, New York. I be that more you gon' remember, Tahaka Bay front line till the law call my number.
I don't care what y'all say. I don't care what y'all say. That's my best one yet. It's the real people, real girls in chains. Y'all don't want to believe. He sounded like he was singing. And notice that Polite said the same thing that R. Kelly said, that they want to destroy his career. The only difference is R. Kelly do have a career. And I don't know what career Polite had, but man, that was funny. But anyway, fam, I'm going to play that for a couple. I'm going to actually put something previously on Morse World TV. That's what I got put in front of that. That's right. Previously in front of Hey, Solarmind, you can't speak all polite. He in the building. Solarmind,
Yeah, they tripping.
hey,
The
you
trolls
can't
is
speak up
real.
Hey, you can't speak up on polite. That's your homie.
I told him my homie.
Hey, bro, you know, on my channel, we had George Bush in this demonstration. We had Donald Trump. Man,
Yo, they stupid.
we got Brother Polite tonight. What up, Brother Polite? Make a donation. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. At DMFG Academy, Polite, hit the Cash App. Polite said, put some money on my books. Man. Family. Hey, listen. This is my guy. Let me give my man a drop real quick. My man from Akron. Akron Hip Hop TV. Y'all need to go check that out. Google it, man. He got some big things going on with that Mecca Media over there. I keep trying to tell him he need to build. He got crazy content. You know what I mean? He deal with the paper. He deal with the digital. He's all over the place with that news, that Mecca Media. Akron. I said Akron. What I'm talking about? Akron. You know what I mean? because I had to think about it. They call it Blackrin or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. That's my man. He got those slick sayings. He like, let me give you some news you can't get in school. Something fine to elevate your mind. You know how them old heads always got to rhyme stuff.
Right.
That's my man right there. But with that being said, Akron Hip Hop TV or AkronHipHopTV.com, Akron hiphop.com, something like that. I'm messing it all up. He actually premiered me on the front page one time of that website, which is a beautiful website. Crazy on the hits. But with that being said, family, we got my brother in here, Solar Vision, Debate League, but we know him as Solarmind. And we going, there you go, here you go. Feel me before they kill me. That's my guy, man.
So that's talking about Akron, Ohio, huh?
Yeah.
Akron Hip Hop TV.
Okay. Yeah, they got some good things going on over there, man. Good things going on, man. But with that being said, as y'all see, Solar Vision Debate League, but this is our brother Solarmind. And last time he was on the show and we was talking about the House of Consciousness, my brother, man, he was digging in the crates when it came to information. And so even me, I've known Solarmind through the YouTube experience for quite some time. But he always was a host of something. He was never really digging in the crates, at least not in my presence. And so, but I know he was sharp, you know what I'm saying? But I just didn't know at what genre, if you will, of information that he was subscribing to. But what I come to see is that he has a well balance of information, and he has and what not only do he has a well balanced amount of information, but he also have a respect for other people's information. And we know that that's rare. You know what I'm saying? That you can disagree with people, but you the person that could disagree with someone, but they still have a respect for another person's information. And I think Brother Solarmind, he exemplifies that. But this, what we're going to talk about today is, do the Illuminati exist? Now, when we talk about the Illuminati, right? When we talk about the Illuminati, we're talking about people that have come together with a predetermined plan to stay in charge, to rule and continue to rule at the expense of everybody else's ignorance. If I could say that any other way, I think it'd be uncivilized, because that's what it is. That it's a group of people that have come together to stay in charge and to rule at the expense of everybody else's ignorance. So with that being said, we're going to get into it, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Solarmind. Solarmind, do you think, and can you prove that it exists or it don't exist? So first question, do you think the Illuminati exists?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Illuminati exists. Well, after the presentation, you're going to see that we are going to know that the Illuminati exists.
Again, family, I need y'all to, I'm going to put our Cash App in there that we use for the work that we do here. But if Solarmind's Cash App is in there or information in there, please support the brother. This takes work, family. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think people understand Solarmind. You know, putting these things together takes hours and hours of work sometimes. I'm talking about presentations. I do it sometimes 3 times a week. I do it for Moorish World TV. I do it for channel 7 that I got, and I do it for the temple for Sunday class. You feel what I'm saying? And it takes hours of work to put these things together. So with that being said, family, if y'all want to gift the brother, nobody is begging, nobody is saying that you have to, but if you want to gift the brother for the work that he do, maybe buy him a soda or something. You know what I mean? Buy him he in Philly, he might still eat cheesesteaks, vegan style. They got vegan cheesesteaks in Philly. Yeah. I'm going to Philly, get me a vegan cheesesteak. Yes, indeed, I am. Yes, indeed, I'm gonna get me a vegan cheesesteak. You watch me. They make it out of probably mushrooms.
Yeah, I was it was funny that you say that, because you know, this is like some of the recent books I just purchased. This is Virus Mania, because I'm actually doing some research on that,
Right.
Corona beer.
Yeah.
And so yeah, these are virus mania. This is talking about, how it's profitable for certain corporations and companies to actually promote viruses. And
so hold 1 second. Who New Era King put $ Solarmind? That's you, brother?
yeah, he's one of the members of
that's
my
New Era
debate league.
King.
So yeah.
Appreciate you, bro. I just wanted to make sure because it wasn't your
I'll just post a link inside of, because that's just because he can't post a link in there without a wrench. So I
appreciate you, New Era. So yeah, family, we're about to dig in. I'm gonna sit back in a minute. I'm gonna freshen up my kombucha. That's what I do.
Crazy.
Hey, that's what I do. Like polite in the building. Polite said he's a vegan. Hey man, hey brother, Polite, man, you trying to disrupt my show, man. You know I'm goofy. I laugh at this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's T-Duck. Man, T-Duck. Man, I don't mess with T-Duck, man. He abandoned me, man. He used to have a wrench, and then he got low on me and ran over there with Solar Vision debates. That's all right. That's all right. It's all one big family. But with that being said, family, I'm going to remove myself.
I do need you to that I already know who that is.
Hey, bro.
I know who that is by what he just said right there.
Dolores, Sister Dolores, that ain't polite, man. That's polite, brother. but so I want to hear the information myself. This is an information class here, so family, everybody share this, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll have some questions on the end after Solarmind get busy. So, brother, I'm gonna yield the floor to you, brother. What you need me to do?
I'll share screen in a second, but I want to point out this book, right? Dean Koontz. The Eyes of Darkness, and in this book it talks about this virus originating in China. This was written in the 80s, by the way. This was written in the 80s. It's talking about this virus that originated in China, this respiratory virus that originated in China. They called it Wuhan 200. And, the virus killed a great portion of the population, and I think that it happened in 2020. This is in this book right here. This is a fiction book, though. Dean Koontz. That's part of that predictive programming that they speak of, and because he actually changed that, I think, in a remake of the book. So, that's this is what I'm actually looking into right now. I'm reading about a lot of stuff pertaining to the Corona beer. So, I'm gonna set up a PowerPoint for that maybe sometime in the near future.
That's what I'm talking about.
But if I could share screen on.
I got you. So thank you, fellas. We're about to learn something today because I've always been fascinated about the Illuminati. You know what I'm saying? I remember when my man Nori said that they came for him. Nori said they wanted to do some sweet stuff. Nori's like, nah, man. We ain't doing this.
Yeah, and let me throw out the disconnect. Because I know maybe what y'all are maybe expecting. Like, okay, like, when you look at those videos, it's interesting videos where they show like my Lady Gaga or somebody on there and they looking all weird and all that. None of them are a part of the Illuminati. The entertainers, and they may be tools for the Illuminati.
Right.
But none of them are a part of the Illuminati. All right. So
so would you say a lot of what they do is prearranged by the Illuminati?
Well, it's
like, say for instance, a stage set. They say, this is what we're going to put down on this award show. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we start seeing all of the things that would intrigue someone to believe that the artist is a part of the Illuminati, but in fact, it could be those somebody behind the scenes that say we want to do this stage like this and do this show like this.
Yeah, because when you're talking about like art forms, like entertainment and even designing the stage, and they show like the checkered floor and all this. It's from a cultural standpoint, but yeah, it does have a connection to like certain rituals that they actually do. You know what I'm saying? But like from a standpoint, like I could be working for, any company. I'm building like my job is to sweep the floors, but the actual company blows up, nations. I'm sweeping the floor for that, so I'm participating in the whole thing from that standpoint. But to know, like, do they really know what's going on? I don't really tie it into that deep, but definitely when they perform those certain award shows, when they do certain things, they have a different idea of what they're doing. I don't think that they're not actually part of the Illuminati, but they do knowingly perform, rituals,
Right,
so
right. So I'm gonna yield the floor to you. I want to see what you got.
Okay.
This is great interest to me.
Shout out to Moorish World TV. And yeah, and this is what this is all about, from the outset, what we call the conscious community. It was supposed to be like an area or avenue to present information, and I'm glad that Moorish World TV is doing a little bit of house cleaning so we can get back to that. So
Absolutely,
shout out
bro.
to Moorish World TV for that. So who controls the world? Now, you see this chart right here, and you can just punch it up on Google, this whole secret cabal, and it has these tentacles, So we're going to go basic, just to get a general understanding of what the Illuminati is, how it was constructed. And when we talk about the Illuminati, because the Illuminati goes way back, even before the quote unquote white man. I know people think Illuminati is, these group of white people and the Rothschilds, but forms of the Illuminati existed even pre-European colonization or before the European came in power. It's just really the enlightened ones, the ones that form a secret group and have information that is not privy to the masses. So we're going to deal with the white, with that being said, with the white version of the Illuminati and modern day secret societies. So once again, shout out to Moorish World TV for giving me the platform to present this information. We're going to start with this man. He goes by the name of Cecil Rhodes. Now, a lot of people know him from creating the Rhodes Society. The Rhodes Society was just pretty much a scholarship program that gives people with the academic, qualifications, that meet the academic qualifications, the opportunity to go to certain the upper echelon universities. So if you want to go to like Yale, Princeton, Harvard, you can go a Rhodes Scholar is what they call it. So he is known for colonization. The colonization of what they call Rhodesia. I think they changed the name now, right? Zimbabwe. Yeah, Zimbabwe is what they call it now, in Zambia. But at the point in time, it was called Rhodesia. And this is going back into British colonialism. And, that Boer War, going back, you had some German immigrants going down there, some Ashkenazi Jews, along with the British, I believe, colonized what we today call South Africa. Now, he is known for, establishing the gold mines, the diamond mines, and controlling that area of South Africa, right? Or Rhodesia, what they call Rhodesia today, Zimbabwe and Zambia. Now, just once again, a little bit of information. The Rhodes Scholarship, as what I already touched upon, is an international postgraduate award for students to study at the University of Oxford. Okay, So they had these programs where they could get, the new people to keep on whatever agenda that they got going on, because they do it through the university. So what they'll do is they'll see maybe some of the brightest people begin to blossom their senior year of high school, whatever, and they would take them and begin to groom them in the universities. And we'll deal with that in a second, with the Skull and Bones at Yale University. But this is obviously he's a British man, so this is in England. That with the Rhodes Scholarship. Now the Rhodes Scholarship eventually became international, but in its infancy, it began at Oxford University. So it's a good book to read by Carol Quigley. He wrote the book called The Anglo-American Establishment, and he also wrote another book called Tragedy and Hope. That's the one that he's most noted for. But in this book, The Anglo-American Establishment, Cecil Rhodes put in his will that he want to dedicate a certain amount of his fortune to form a secret society, which was to advocate itself for the preservation and expansion of the British Empire. I can really end the PowerPoint right now. You got the secret cabal, that has an agenda for the expansion of the British Empire. Now, this is another statement that he left in his will. The establishment, promotion, and development of a secret society, the true aim and object whereof shall be the extension of British rule throughout the world. So you're talking about, one world government and a new world order. This is what you're really making reference to. And we're going to break this down very thoroughly tonight. Solarmind, he puts, I don't put my foot in there, I put my whole knee. It goes all the way up to the knee, how deep I go with this whole thing. So, like I said, this is something that can be located in his will. And at this point, you could look this up and see this. And this is really all I have to show. But we're going to go deeper because we got a lot of information to show. Cecil Rhodes Secret Society. All right. These three individuals will be what they would call the inner circle. So he had an inner circle and an outer circle. The inner circle will be labeled the Society of the Elect, and the outer circle will be called the Association of Helpers. Now, in this inner circle, he lets them in on what the overall objective is. The outer circle, they'll get the nooks and crannies of how to begin to disseminate the information to a certain group of elitist people and their organizations. So they may not know the total, ins and outs of what the overall objective is. It's kind of relegated to the inner circle. And this is how you keep secret society secret. Like I said, I could be, doing the dishes for an organization or a company that kills people in Gambia, So, it's levels to the, the pyramid of power. So the inner circle, you have William T. Stead and Reginald Brett, along with Cecil Rhodes. Now, it says within the Society of the Elect, the real power was to be exercised by the leader, a Joshua of three. The leader was to be Rhodes, and the Joshua was to be Stead, Brett, and Alfred Milner. In accordance with this decision, Milner was added to the society by Stead shortly after the meeting. So they had this meeting where Milner was brought up, and then they would eventually bring him into the fold. So you talk about four individuals that he now gave, this objective or this agenda, which is the extension of British rule throughout the world. All right. So he will also talk with one of the Rothschilds. And when you're talking about secret societies and you're talking about how secret societies work, they always get brought up, and that's what you can see. It states, first, they discussed their goals and agreed that if necessary, in order to achieve Anglo-American unity, Britain should join the United Nations. Then they discussed the organization of the secret society and divided it into two circles, the Society of the Elect and the outer circle to include the Association of Helpers. It says Rhodes said that he had already revealed the plan for the Society of the Elect to Rothschild and Little Johnson. So I believe that will be Nathan Rothschild, that he would let in on his secret plan. Once again, this is a good book to read. Jim Marrs' book, Ruled by Secrecy. He actually also confirms, this discussion. According to Coleman's Rose, first roundtable group was established in South Africa with the funding from the British Rothschild family to train business leaders loyal to Britain in ways to maintain control over that country's wealth. All right. So once again, the overall objective will be to extend British rule throughout the world. And that's what we call a one world government, new world order, whatever you want to call it. So once again, you have these groups of individuals. At this point in time, we could say roughly 5 individuals, including Nathan Rothschild, William T. Steed, Reginald Brent, and Alfred Milner, along with Cecil Rhodes. They want to establish a secret society to extend British rule at the time throughout the world. All right. Now, the secret society was called by many names. This because even when you're talking about, for example, the Bilderberg, which you're going to get into in a second, that's the name that people gave the secret society, because you really don't know what they call themselves because it's a secret society. So it was many names that was actually given to the secret society before the name was actually revealed. So the secret society of Cecil Rhodes. Cecil will lead the secret order for over a decade, and his successor will be Alfred Milner. Once Alfred Milner assumed leadership, the secret society began to be recognized as Milner's kindergarten, or the Round Table Group. So when you hear about like the Round Table Group, when you're looking in the little conspiracy theory videos that we all look at, for entertainment purposes and, just for a little bit of knowledge and stuff. And when they talk about the Round Table Group, that's what they're actually talking about. They're talking about this actual group right here, this little cabal of individuals that want to extend British rule throughout the world. Other names for the organization are the Chatham House crowd, the Rose crowd, or the Times crowd. Now, the Chatham House crowd, I want you to, put that in the memory banks as we move forward, because we're connecting the dots right now. All right. So this is just a little bit of information. I'll allow y'all to read it very shortly, of all the things that they actually participated in historically. We know that it was a Boer War in South Africa. It's a different disagreement amongst the Europeans pertaining to land and resources. So it resulted in a Boer War. The creation of the Times magazine, they had influence over that. They, the Jameson raid, all different types of things that they were actually involved in. The creation of the League of Nations, and a lot of things that they actually had to orchestrate to keep this agenda alive. And many people are aware of the term, anybody that digs into the information of what they call the Hegelian dialectic. The Hegelian dialectic is pretty much a sort of method. I think it was Hegel was the name of the individual, that you could keep an agenda going by creating a thesis, an antithesis, and then a solution, to the problem. So they call it today problem, reaction, solution. But so what they do is they'll create the problem, and then they'll create the solution. And that will create the synthesis, which will be the ending result of whatever, the outcome of this conflict that they orchestrated. And that would keep alive whatever the overall agenda is. So moving forward, you can see it's a book called The Trilateral Commission and Elite Planning for World Management. In this book, it says the following: bodies like the Council on Foreign Relations, the British Institute of International Affairs, commonly known as Chatham House, Chatham House. So the British Institute, and these are organizations that exist to this day. The British Institute of International Affairs is known as Chatham House. Remember, Chatham House was one of the terms that was actually used to classify the secret society that Rose established. So the Chatham House crowd, or the Chatham House, is the British Institute of International Affairs. You can type it up on Google. Look up the British Institute of International Affairs. It exists to this day. There's nothing secret really about it in terms of you not knowing about it, that this is an actual organization that does exist. That will be Chatham House crowd. Now, the American branch of the Institute of International Affairs is the Council on Foreign Relations. We know today that the Council on Foreign Relations exists. It is an actual organization that influences American policy. And many people believe that it's the Council on Foreign Relations that actually select the presidents of the United States. So when you look at this chart that's on the right of the screen, once again, this is like, used in a lot of the conspiracy theory videos when it's talking about the Illuminati. All these are actual organizations. How are they connected? Is the question. How are these organizations connected? And what influence does it have on regular people like you and I? So you have, we already talked about the Royal Institute of International Affairs, and you can see it right up on the top. That top circle will be the Council on Foreign Relations. Now we know now that, we're going to go tick for tack with the whole thing, that the Royal Institute of International Affairs is actually Chatham House, which will go into that roundtable group, which involves individuals that I named, beginning with Cecil Rose, Alfred Milner, Reginald Brett, and Nathan Rothschild. They are some of the original founders of, these secret societies, and what you call these organizations to actually push forward their overall agenda. Royal Institute of International Affairs is Chatham House. Chatham House developed the Royal Institute of International Affairs, which will now have an American branch, which will be the Council on Foreign Relations. All right. So this is where we're at now. It says bodies like the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations, the British Institute of International Affairs, commonly known as Chatham House, and transnational counterparts like Bilderberg and the Trilateral Commission play a crucial role in formulating policy directions, molding establishment consensus, and even testing for likely opposition. These institutions prorogate the resulting policy positions throughout their network of authoritative channels, setting the limits of respectable foreign policy debate. That's another good book to read about the Trilateral Commission. Okay, so Lionel Curtis, he will be a protege of Alfred Milner, as what we read. Milner was the person who succeeded Cecil Rose. Cecil Rose controlled the secret organization for about 10 years, and it will be Alfred Milner, that actually would, take on the torch and continue this agenda for one world government. And Lionel Curtis will be one of his proteges, and of the Milner's kindergarten, what they classified it as. So Lionel Curtis, he would be the individual that would actually push forward this whole thing with the Council on Foreign Relations. It says, undaunted, along with the both British and American Peace Conference delegates, met in Paris Majestic Hotel May 30th, 1919, and resolved to form an Institute of International Affairs, one branch in the United States and one in England. The English branch became the Royal Institute of International Affairs. This institute was to guide public opinion toward acceptance of a one world government or globalism. The U.S. branch was incorporated in July 1921, as the Council on Foreign Relations. Okay, so once again, according to the book, Trilateralism. Rule by Secrecy. Jim Mars is talking about the establishment of a one world government. This is the goal of the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, it's a good video that you could check out with Barack Obama. He's talking outside of the country. And he made reference to, he said, well, inside of my country, they don't want to talk about like global unity. But, he is a staunch advocate of, creating, some of the pieces which would result in the development of a one world government. So he was speaking of America like, yeah, they still caught up in this nationalism thing. And, but I disagree with that. I think that we should unify globally. So, once again, that is the overall goal as what you just read of the Council on Foreign Relations. And you could go to their website and read, what their overall objective is. Those with understanding know how to read through, some of the English language. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said the English language is a very deceptive language. So if you could piece through that, then you could get the gist of what the actual overall agenda would be. Now, globalism and a one world government will be the objective. And once again, these are the disciples of, Cecil Rhodes and what he established. These individuals, Lionel Curtis, they would be the founder of these organizations to actually now organize and take further steps to actually achieving this overall agenda. So this is where we're at right now. We have Cecil Rhodes, Nathan Rothschild, William T. Steed, Reginald Brett, and Alfred Milner. Alfred Milner had the Milner's Kindergarten, which one of his proteges was Lionel Curtis. Lionel Curtis will be the founder of the Royal Institute of International Affairs. The American branch of the Royal Institute of International Affairs will be the Council on Foreign Relations. All right. So at one of the meetings of the Royal Institute of International Affairs, this man, Joseph Rittinger, his he would attend one of these meetings, and he would be a part of this organization for European economic unity. And he would communicate a lot of the things that was talked about at one of the meetings at Chatham House to some American philanthropists. Some of the names, as what you can see, if you're following along with this, what was written down here, it says Avriel Harriman. He was talking also with the Rockefellers and others. So he went to some American philanthropists with some of the ideas that was espoused at one of the meetings and at Chatham House. These organizations still exist. I'm going to kind of keep on reiterating that as we move forward. Now, who is Joseph Rittinger? Once again, he would talk with individuals like David Rockefeller, Alfred Sloan. He would also talk with individuals, I believe, Sir William Wiseman. I think Kellogg. I think the dude that actually made Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. I think that he was one of the individuals that he would talk with. American philanthropist. The chairman of the Dodge Motor Company, Alfred Sloan, that's who he was. Charles Hook, he was the president of the American Rolling Mills Company. Wiseman, Kuhn Loeb. So he would be talking to individuals that, actually had a little bit of power and influence, and he was espousing some of the ideas for European unity. They would include America in with this whole agenda. So Joseph Rittinger will be the individual that will start what they call the Bilderberg Group. He was the co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. So once again, when you're talking in terms of the Bilderbergs, when you hear that term, the Bilderbergs, he was the co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. Who is Joseph Rittinger? he was an individual that initially wanted to establish a organization for economic European unity, and he was one of the people that was in the circle that attended some of the Chatham House meetings when it was in its infancy. So he was a member of, once again, an organization that was established by Cecil Rhodes. For the overall objective would be to establish British rule throughout the world, or what we term a one world government. And see, and this is the objective, right? Because I know when you look at the conspiracy theories and you hear all the things, you see the one eye and the rituals and all these things and the sacrifice and all that, it'll take you out into an area where it's like kind of almost mythological. So we're going to bring it into reality and speak on how it impacts us today, because these organizations are formed for a reason. They have an overall objective. They have an agenda. What is the agenda of these organizations, and how is it orchestrated? How are they able to carry out these this overall agenda? So once again, Joseph Rittinger, he is co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. So if it's a co-founder, it has to be another individual to be another co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. Who is this man? He is this man, Prince Bernhard. He's the other co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. Who was Prince Bernhard? He was a German-born prince who was the consort of Queen Juliana of the Netherlands. They were the parents of 4 children, including Princess Beatrix, who later served as Queen of the Netherlands from 1980 to 2013. All right, general information. But who really is Prince Bernhard? Prince Bernhard was a Nazi. He was a member of the Nazi SS. So now the Bilderberg Group that we know exists today, that, you got the white boy, Alex Jones. He goes up there and he records them, and they're just walking in the meeting. You're not allowed in the meeting. You're not allowed to, they don't even tell you what they're talking about in the meeting. This was founded by a person, on the one hand, that was trying to establish European economic unity, and he was part of this whole agenda that was established by Cecil Rhodes for British rule throughout the world. So that's on the one hand. That's Joseph Rittinger. But the other co-founder will be this guy who was a Nazi. Interesting. So when you're looking at, Nazism, a lot of people don't understand that when you're talking about Nazi Germany, that you're talking about, this was a political, religious organization. A lot of people don't, take into account, due to the fact that, on the History Channel, they never really engage it. But, the occult aspect of Nazi Germany, they get into a lot of, things with Helen Blavatsky and the root race theory, and, for racial purity. And, it gets into a lot of deep esoteric information. Now, what you're seeing right here, I'm showing you symbols, right? So in the upper right, you see that's Prince Bernhard. He's standing next to Adolf Hitler. Show you how real the situation is. Prince Bernhard is the person that is to the left of that picture, and he's clearly a Nazi soldier. And so you see that skull and bones that's located as the insignia for the hats that they wore on the Nazi Germany uniforms. Skull and Bones, we know that was a secret society that was established in Yale. Now, this secret society would actually be the American branch of the German Thule Society. And when you read about the Thule Society, that's when you get to the Nazi occult aspect of the rhetoric of racial purity, in that organization. And once again, Skull and Bones would be the American branch of that. Now, everybody know when you're looking at the conspiracy theory videos that you see that individuals like George Bush, and others. What's the other vice president name that was in the secret society Skull and Bones? I forget what his name was, but the both of the Bushes, George Bush Sr. and George Bush John Kerry, one of those guys. You know, they was also members of the Skull and Bones. So the Rockefellers, you know, Percy Rockefeller was part of the secret society of Skull and Bones. The Harrimans, that's what we were just mentioning. That was one of the individuals that Joseph Rittinger was communicating with. One of the Harrimans. Harrimans was known, they got rich from establishing the railroads here in America. So they were a part of the Skull and Bones as well. So you're talking about now these secret organizations now, which ultimate goal is for a one world government. And then, you know, when you're looking at, once again, a lot of information that's presented on these videos and YouTube, you know, they have to piece another information because, you know, it's very vast in terms of, you know, how this network actually is effective at, you know, pushing forward the agenda. But do know, that's why I'm constructing it in this manner. This all started with initially Cecil Rhodes creating this lines of communication, you know, which would eventually lead to Chatham House. And now everybody's talking that is in line with the overall agenda. And that's what you can see, you know, is now taking a step forward in terms of orchestrating or getting to their ultimate goal. Once again, Prince Bernhard was the co-founder of the Bilderberg Group, and he was a Nazi. All right. Skull and Bones and Nazis is a good book by Sylvia Brown, Secret Societies and How They Affect Our Lives. And this is an account from an individual that snuck into the secret, you know, society, Skull and Bones, you know, the little temple that they have at Yale University. And this is what they're saying that they saw when they went into that temple. It says there were a couple of bedrooms, and there was this monumental dining room with different rows of skull and bones, songs suspended from the ceiling. The most shocking thing, and I say this because I don't think it is sort of important. I mean, President Bush does belong to Skull and Bones. Everyone knows that. There is like a Nazi shrine inside. One room on the second floor has a bunch of swastikas, kind of an SS macho Nazi iconography, right? And that is because they was the American branch of the German Thought Society. Other people are unaware of that. And so their overall objective was to actually be the think tank, one of the think tanks that will help support the rise of fascism, you know, and the rise of Nazi Germany. And anybody who reads enough on this, you know, is a good unauthorized biography of George Bush, where they show how the Bush family played a key role in actually developing Nazi Germany. Once again, Nazi Germany after World War I, they fell into a depression and they went into bankruptcy. And the dollar was in the German Reich, I think it's called, was inflated. It was inflation of their dollar. And they had to pay reparations to France through what they call the Treaty of Versailles. And this is after World War I. So they was in a financial difficulty. And once the dollar's inflated, a lot of the things are cheap. So what I believe that what eventually will be the Bushes, the bank that Bush became Prescott. I think his name was Prescott. And this is part of, this is why George Bush II, they call him George Prescott Bush, is because I think it was a Prescott that would be the father of on his wife's side, I believe, that he would get a job at this banking firm and they would actually buy the shipping company of the Germans. And they would be able to control all the import and export coming from Germany to America. They use this to smuggle weapons. You read about Remington Arms, which is one of the oldest gun manufacturing companies in the world. They will smuggle weapons with Percy Rockefeller, which is also a member of Skull and Bones, into Nazi Germany. When you read about the Rockefellers and the amounts of money that they donated to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institutes, Now, the Kaiser Wilhelm Home Institutes would be the facilities that actually would be, actually keeping the data of the experimentation that was going on in Nazi Germany. All this is being erected in Nazi Germany. The creation of the SS. This is a private, many people don't believe that this was a private army that was established by Adolf Hitler. And it was being funded through American philanthropists, So American philanthropists play a crucial role in arming, facilitating, even creating the ideology that was used by Adolf Hitler. When you study eugenics, Paul Popenoe in California, he was heavy on eugenics. Harry Laughlin and Charles Davenport would create what they call the Eugenic Record Office in Springs Harbor, New York. And Harry Laughlin would actually begin to push this into legislation, eugenic ideology into legislation. So when you look at those sterilization laws, that's where it came from. And it was a fascination because they deemed the pure race would be the ones with the blonde hair, blue eyes. And Germans obviously had a fascination with that because that's a characteristic that's most prominent amongst Germans. And so it would be Adolf Hitler that would study how Paul Popenoe in California would implement his sterilization laws, and he would begin to implement that initially on the Rhineland. So from the philosophy of eugenics to the funding of the institutes, the funding of the private army, all coming from American philanthropists, So this was a whole movement, and this was the think tank. This was the role of Skull and Bones. Once again, they're connected to these organizations, which ultimately their ultimate goal would be the formation of a world order. A lot of people are unaware. It's that Christmas show, that old Christmas show that they always play, back in the day, because this is what our parents watched. So they would always play this Christmas. I forgot the name of it, but they would show Nazi Germany and when they was talking about it, because it was made like in the 1930s, I believe. And they would call it the world order. And so that's what they referred to the Nazi movement in that time, as a world order. And now you're talking about now the new world order. So let's dig a little further. This is where we at now. We're talking about now, remember, the inner circle, which ultimate goal was to create a secret society to help establish British rule throughout the world. This would kind of manifest with Alfred Milner into the Royal Institute of International Affairs, or the Chatham House. The American branch of the Chatham House will be the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, at this meeting at Chatham House, Joseph Rittinger, he would communicate with like-minded individuals and bring this philosophy over to American philanthropists. And he will be the co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. The other co-founder will be Prince Bernhard, who was a Nazi. All right. So now the picture is becoming a little bit clearer. Now we're using historical data to actually show how secret societies exist. So this is nothing really that's up for debate, as what I said initially. This is nothing that's really up for debate in terms of, is it real? Is it not real? No, these are actually individuals. These are actually historical information. This is actually stuff that you could actually reference when you're explaining this to others. All right. So the Club of Rome. Now, general information. It says founded in 1968. The Club of Rome consists of current and former heads of state, UN bureaucrats, high-level politicians and government officials, diplomats, scientists, economists, and business leaders from around the globe. The Club of Rome conducts research and hosts debates, conferences, lectures, high-level meetings, and events. Club also publishes a limited number of peer-reviewed reports to the Club of Rome, the most famous which is The Limits to Growth. The Club of Rome's mission is to promote understanding of global challenges facing humanity and to propose solutions through scientific analysis, communication, and advocacy. Now that says something when you read it, say, oh, there's really nothing the matter with that, right? But we know how the European uses his information. We call it tricknology. You got to look into what exactly is this limits to growth. What does that mean? This is how you got to deal with when you're dealing with this beast. what does limits to growth means? And how are you going to actually do this whole global thing? What are the challenges facing the global community and humanity? You know what I'm saying? You got to get him to talking. Oh, what does that mean? Because it sounds innocent, you know? So you got to dig in a little deeper. And when you dig in deep enough, we'll go back to this individual named Robert Malthus. Who is Robert Malthus? Malthus in 1798, he had published anonymously initially an essays on the principles of population. And he had a theory, which we eventually call the Malthusian catastrophe, which is, the Earth's population, if left unchecked, would eventually override the food supply or the capacity to produce food. And that would be the Malthusian catastrophe. So he says that, well, the Earth regulates itself through famine, disease, and war, meaning that, to prevent, this influx of humans on the planet, these things have to happen, because if left unchecked, the population will grow so large that it will over or supersede the food capacity that's on the planet. So now you have too many people and not enough food, right? So he's saying, according to his theory, that the Earth regulates itself. This is why we have famines, and this is why we have disease, and this is why war is necessary. This will be Robert Malthus. The term is still used to this day. So when they say, the Malthusians, when you hear that, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about people who still push this philosophy, push this ideology, push this, this understanding that suggests that we have to regulate the population, for our survival as humans on this planet. Because if we don't, then there'd be too many people on the planet, and it would be total chaos, is what is insinuated. So when you hear the term Malthusians, this is what they're talking about. Once again, a little bit more of the philosophy of Malthus. It says, I think I may make fairly two postula. First, that food is necessary to the existence of man. Second, that the passion between the sexes is necessary and will remain necessary in its present state. Assuming that my postula, as granted, I say that the power of population is infinitely greater than the power in the earth to produce sustenance for man. Population, when unchecked, increases in geometrical ratio. Substances increase only in an arithmetical ratio. A slight acquaintance with numbers will show the immensity of the first power in comparison of the second. By the law of our nature, which makes food necessary to the life of man, the effects of these two unequal powers must be kept equal. This implies a strong, consistently operating check on population from the difficulty of sustenance. This difficulty must fall somewhere and must necessarily be severely felt by a large portion of mankind. Is exactly what I just said 5 minutes ago. That you have this idea that the food capacity is not sufficient enough to allow humans to produce at the rate that I guess they naturally produce. So it has to be some factor that kind of levels the playing field, and that factor will be, well, the elimination of certain amount of humans through famine, disease, and war. Now, understand that this is the foundation of the Darwinian theory of evolution. Remember, because his theory is the survival of the fittest or natural selection. So he's taking it a step further to suggest that, well, okay, so if we have to kill a certain amount of humans, which ones do we kill? So that's what determine natural selection is. Okay, so the ones that's more fit is the ones that actually survive. So the ones that actually wins the war, the ones that is less susceptible to disease, and the ones who are able to eat and not, fall into the area of having a famine, those are the ones that actually move forward. The others die off. And then eventually Francis Galton would take Darwin's philosophy and begin to point, well, who are these fit individuals? Who are these fit individuals? You know, and that would be eugenics. So let's deem who is actually fit to live on this planet. Now they're deciding who are the people that is supposed to live on this planet. And they all have racial implications. So, Club of Rome, Malthusians. The Club of Rome are Malthusians. This is the point that is being made. So when you're talking about the Club of Rome, it is the continuation of what was initially established by Robert Malthus. And as we're going to go to the highlighted part, it says Malthus saw population growth as being inevitable whenever conditions improve, thereby precluding real progress towards a utopian society. The goal would be a utopian society. What is holding back this utopian society? The fact that there's too many people on the planet. Not enough food to feed everybody. This is what the theory is. Now, going to the Club of Rome, it says, if the present growth trends in world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion continue unchanged, the limits to growth on this planet will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. The most probable result will be a rather sudden, uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. So once again, they're espousing this Malthusian rhetoric in the Club of Rome. The overwhelming growth in world population caused by the positive birth rate loop is a recent phenomenon, a resulting of mankind's very successful reduction of worldwide mortality. The controlled negative feedback loop has been weakened, allowing the positive loop to operate virtually without constraint. There are only two ways to restore the resulting imbalance. Either the birth rate must be brought down to equal the new lower death rate, or the death rate must rise again. So these are your options. You know, either bring down the birth rate or we rise the death rate. I make the case that they're doing both. You know, so they construct a society which would lower the birth rate, and at the same time, they cause famine, they cause disease, and they cause war to lower the birth rate. This is all in the Club of Rome. You can read this in their book. This is their publication. These are the things that they are saying. You know, it says in the bottom paragraph, it says, in searching for a new enemy to unite us. Now, let's start from the top so you get the gist of what actually is being espoused by the Club of Rome. It says, it is a law of nature that a vacuum will be filled and therefore eliminate unless this is physically prevented. Nature, as the saying goes, abhors a vacuum, and people as children of nature can only feel uncomfortable even though they may not recognize that they are living in a vacuum. However, then is the vacuum to be eliminated. It would seem that humans need a common motivation, namely a common adversary, to organize and act together in the vacuum. Such a motivation must be found to bring the divided nations together to face an outside enemy, either a real one or else one invented for the purpose. New enemies therefore have to be identified, and new strategies imagined, new weapons devised. Common enemy of humanity is man. The common enemy of humanity is man. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it is only through change attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. That's a Malthusian statement. Like a motherfucker. Because remember, Malthus said, you know, we have to check the capacity of producing humans, because if left unchecked, it would supersede the food capacity. This is exactly what they're saying. So the Club of Rome are Malthusians. Okay, so once again, more on the Club of Rome. Then this is talking about their overall objective because of these realities that they say that the real enemy to humanity is man, and what they want to do to deal with this common enemy. And when you read about the Club of Rome and the rhetoric of the Club of Rome, and this is actually from their book, you'll see that ultimately they are one of the main advocates for population control. So once again, these are some of the statements that was made by members of the Club of Rome. It says, modern industrial civilization is fast outstripping the Earth's natural, regenerative, and life-supporting capacity. That's a mouthful statement. At current rates of resource depletion, okay, so if left unchecked, the food's capacity will outstrip, the development of, human capacity. It says an environmental degradation, a near complete collapse of ecological integrity will occur within the next 100 years. So they say, man, this is urgent. We're on the brink of a Malthusian catastrophe. What are we going to do about it? Gia, or our mother, who nurtured humanity for countless millennia within her womb of evolution, is dying. So they're making this is urgent. This is something that we have to address immediately. A small window of opportunity now exists to transform humanity into a sustainable global interdependent society based on respect and reverence for the earth. So now they're talking about establishing, one of the solutions would be to establish a global society, which everybody are on point with what they want to do, far as how they're conducting themselves, as humans in reference to the treatment of the planet. Now, on the surface level, that sounds awesome. Oh yeah, for the betterment of humanity. But who created industrialization? These are the same cats that created industrialization, and they forced third world nations to become industrial. So what's the real problem? You know what I'm saying? They go over to a nation that is not industrial. With the army, they topple their power structure, replace their culture with their morals, their standards, and their way of life. They industrialize their area, right? So the individuals or the remnants of the people that they conquer, they have to acquiesce to the dominant society. They turn around and they say that, well, you're the problem because look, the industrialization is destroying the planet. No, you're destroying the planet because you're the ones that made them industrial. Technology. Let's bring this home. The founders of Club of Rome. Hold up. Aurelio Pesci, Alexander King, and wait a minute, David Rockefeller. Now, when you're talking about the Rockefellers, know that they were German immigrants to the United States. The Rockefellers got into the areas of banking. A lot of you know about the Rockefellers. Now, once again, I was talking about Percy Rockefeller and the Rockefellers that was involved in, the establishment of the, not the establishment, but they was members of the secret society, Skull and Bones. They also played a crucial role in helping finance Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. These are some of the things that we could definitely briefly touch upon, as what we already, I just already said, that they were German immigrants moving into the United States in the early 18th century. Percy Rockefeller, as what I already said, was a member of Skull and Bones, and he would actually be controlling that company, Remington Arms. Remington Arms was a weapons producer that we, a lot of y'all, anybody who's into guns know, Remington Arms. And this is actually showing how the person that he appointed control over Remington Arms was Samuel F. Pryor, chief executive of Remington. He would be the individual to smuggle weapons into Nazi Germany. And this is all documented stuff. So you have these organization, or this overall objective was to help build, the Nazi war machine, and Rockefellers, as what you can see here, they donated thousands of dollars, and in modern day will be millions of dollars to Nazi Germany. As you can see in that bottom paragraph, it says during the final weeks Okay, so Rockefeller Foundation money began to flow immediately. During the final weeks of 1922, 194 fellowships were awarded, a totaling of 65,000. The next year, 262 fellowships were awarded for a total of 135,000. By 1926, Rockefeller had donated some 410,000, almost 4 million in 21st century money, or indirectly through international programs that passed through funds through Germany receipts. All right. So these would be the establishment of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institutes. They actually were funding Nazi Germany. And this is the same individual that was that helped create the Club of Rome. Let's connect the dots. All right. So a little bit more when you're dealing with the Nuremberg trial, and a lot of stuff was revealed then. Was talking about the Dulles brothers, who were actually the lawyers, were lawyers over there and had law firms over there in Nazi Germany, Nazi supporters. All these are Nazi supporters. All right. So this was just pretty much showing you this connection with once again going back to Joseph Rittiger and Prince Bernhard, the co-founders of what exists today as the Bilderberg Group. And you see how all these people are interconnected, from the American philanthropists to this Nazi war machine, this very what we deem to be racist, eugenic, actual power structure that was according to what they say in the history, pretty much devastating the world in the early 20th century. All right. So Rockefeller, a little more on the Rockefellers. Now, Frederick Osborne will be the individual that actually established or kept the American Eugenics Society alive after World War II. Due to the atrocities of World War II, they didn't want to anymore use eugenic language to express what their actual objectives was. Frederick Osborne would do a good job at doing some cosmetic changes within the language of the American Eugenics Society, and they will place a lot of those eugenic terms with genetic terms. So this is how you have genetics intertwined with eugenic objectives and the overall eugenic agenda. Now, the younger Osborne was determined to continue the eugenic movement, but under the name genetics. This is what it's saying in the War Against the Weak, another good book that you should have. In 1947, the Remnant Board of Directors unanimously agreed the time was not right for aggressive eugenic propaganda. Instead, the American Eugenics Society quietly soliciting financial grants from such organizations as who? The Dodge Fund, the Rockefeller Funded Population Council, and the Draper Fund. The purpose to proliferate genetics as a legitimate study of human heredity. Is another statement from War Against the Weak. Osborne, once again, he is the now head of the American Eugenics Society. He said, was able to confidently write to Paul Popenoe. Remember, I was talking about Paul Popenoe because Adolf Hitler was fascinated with this individual because the legislation that was passed in California and how he was able to enforce sterilization laws. All right. So now Osborne is writing to Paul Popenoe. He says the term genetics has taken the place of the term negative eugenics. Keeping a low profile has paid off. On April 12, 1965, Osborne wrote a colleague at Duke University somewhat triumphantly. We had struggled for years to rid the word eugenics of all racial and social connotations and have finally been successful with most scientists, if not with the public. So this changing of eugenic terms to genetic terms, these people who were aforetime proponents of sterilization laws, eugenics, population control, etc., is now becoming involved in genetics. That's a dangerous thing. Once again, you're talking in terms of the Rockefellers once again, and the reason why all this is being brought up is because we're talking about the Club of Rome, which was established by one of the founders of the Club of Rome, which we know was one of the Rockefellers. So we getting into the Rockefellers just to let you know what their objectives was from the outset. Supporter of Nazi Germany, all all the things that they were supporting in one way, form, or another had to do with, one world government, and eugenics and population control. All right. So once again, we're dealing with the Rockefellers, Avery Rockefeller, who was also a member of the Skull and Bones. You're talking about the Dulles brothers, John Foster Dulles and Allen Dulles. I forget which one, but one was the head of the first head of the CIA, and the other one was Secretary of State in the Truman administration, I believe. So these are the founders of the Population Council. Now, all these organizations exist today. The Population Council. So John D. Rockefeller III, which was also a founder of the Club of Rome, is a founder of the Population Council. We know that the Rockefellers supported eugenics, population control organization going back all the way into the early 20th century. They were members of Skull and Bones. They were supporters of the Nazi Germany movement. They helped finance Adolf Hitler. They helped build the facilities. Once again, Percy Rockefeller actually smuggled weapons into Nazi Germany. What is their objective and what is their overall agenda? He's now the founder of the Population Council and also the Club of Rome, organizations that exist to this very day, by the way. Once again, John Foster Dulles is also a Nazi supporter. They had established a law firm over in Nazi Germany at the height of Adolf Hitler. They would be communicating with Adolf Hitler very consistently. Frederick Osborne, once again, he was one of the presidents of the American Eugenics Society, and he was the one that decided to change the eugenic terms to more genetic terms. All right. So a little bit on the Population Council. The Population Council is an international nonprofit governmental organization. The council had conducted research in biomedicine and social science and public health, and helps build research capacities in developing countries. 1/3 of its research relates to HIV and AIDS, while its other major programs areas are in reproductive health and its relation to poverty, youth, and gender. So ultimately, this organization, as what they said, is a social science. So they're dealing with society, and particularly in the third world, and the fact that they deal with levels of poverty, as what was espoused here, and ways of, I guess, on a surface level, dealing with the society and the social problems that they deal with as a third world nation. Now, on a surface level, once again, that seemed like something that is a humanitarian, but when you dig deeper, right, they're saying that one of the ways of them dealing with this is controlling the population. So what they do is they provide them with maybe a way of cleaning their water, a little bit of food here and there. But in order for that to actually come consistently, they would have to agree to dealing with forms of family planning, which would be ultimately sterilization. So now let's dig into this, right? And they said they do research on HIV and AIDS. Now, it's a good book called Who Created the AIDS Virus? And it's saying who as the World Health Organization is a play on words. That's a good book to read. Emerging Viruses by Leonard Horowitz is another good book to read, where he actually gets into this man by the name of Robert Gallo. And he's saying that, through molecular biology, that's what they call it. That's like the splicing of genes. They can now go into different genes from different species of animals, and they can extract, maybe like a cancer from a cow and cat leukemia. This is what they're saying, according to the theory in Emerging Viruses. Leonard Horowitz is posing the theory that all this was going on at the Institute of Health in Beth Sheba, Maryland, and they were actually able to take the cow bovine virus and the cat leukemia virus and put it into the hepatitis B vaccination and inject homosexuals in New York and Los Angeles, which would actually begin this AIDS epidemic. So it's very interesting that these are the same individuals that are part of this one of the objectives of the Population Council, which would be researching AIDS and HIV, and also dealing with the impoverished nations and trying to convince them to get birth control. Once again, okay, so you're talking about forms of sterilization to third world nations. Who created this organization? One of the founders was Rockefeller, and others was Nazi supporters and eugenicists, right? So this will also be one of the founders of the Club of Rome, whose philosophy is Malthusian in origin, which is suggesting that, there's not enough food to feed everybody. So the real problem with humanity, as what is stated in the Club of Rome, is man. Deep, very sophisticated organization. They're continuing this agenda, kind of, did a little bit of tweaks in the rhetoric to make it look more humanitarian, and they're still pushing this overall agenda. Does the Illuminati exist? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, the Illuminati exists. Okay, so moving forward, we get into like certain forms of contraceptives that they begin to disseminate around the world. The IUD, we know now today abortion is being promoted in the United States. There's a lot of billboards that you see when you're driving by. Some say, the most dangerous place of the black child is inside of the black woman's womb, and things of that nature, because according to statistics, they say that the black woman gets more abortion at a higher rate than any other woman in the country. This is what's being suggested. And then when you dig in deeper enough, you see that the birth control clinics and the family planning facilities is more permanent in the black community than anywhere else. Population control is one of the objectives for the New World Order. We get into Margaret Sanger. She was also funded by the Rockefellers. This type of information that we need to be privy of. Margaret Sanger, she would get in contact with a lot of the eugenicists at the time. Charles Davenport, if you're unaware of who he is, he was the one that was studying under Francis Galton and Carl Pearson. And he was one of the individuals that was helping promote the magazine Biometrica. Biometrica was a magazine that was promoting biometrics. And when you're talking about the conspiracy theories that talk about the RFID, that's a form of biometrics. Why is biometrics important in terms of when you're dealing with eugenics? It is important because as what you've seen in Nazi Germany, how they branded and the Ashkenazi Jews, and so they could keep data. And I think they used the IBM computers to actually do this. So they was able to categorize individuals based off of their health, etc., all their information, what they're allergic to, all the different things. And that's similar to what they're saying that this RFID chip is going to actually have. It's going to have all your information on there, the health of the family, all different types of stuff on there. And this is their way of able to track certain individuals. And once again, they are Malthusians. So, once again, it's a philosophy that's saying that, well, some of these people got to go. So now when we have all the information of individuals, okay, well, this person has consistent heart disease or mental illness in their family. So, we could just eliminate them because, he's most likely to have some type of mental illness going into his 50s. So this is the importance of biometrics in terms of applying it to eugenics and population control. Charles Davenport would begin to bring eugenic philosophy over to the United States. As what I said earlier, he started the Cold Springs Harbor Laboratory, where they have established what they call the Eugenic Record Office. The Eugenic Record Office was funded by the Rockefellers. All right. Margaret Sanger would be one of the individuals that would attend the Birth Control League, and that she would start, the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. The reason why she was important was because, as what this man, Frederick Osborne, he wanted to do some cosmetic changes, and he wanted to promote eugenics in a different way, he would use Margaret Sanger because she was also a feminist. So they tied a lot of eugenic propaganda into the feminist movement. This is how it was done. This is the importance of Margaret Sanger. Once again, funded by the Rockefellers. All right, so a little bit more, once again, no, this is something that I read already. When it's talking about the feedback loop, once again, it's talking about, this idea that there are too many people being born and not enough people dying due to technology and advances in medicine. This is what the Club of Rome is saying, that we're kind of tampering with the natural, development or the natural process of the planet. With these technologies and this advancement in medicine, etc., people are living longer, but the birth rate is still the same. So now this is resulting in more people on the planet. What do we do about that? As what it says in the last sentence, it says either the birth rate must be brought down to equal the new lower death rate, or the death rate must rise again. As what I said earlier, I think they're doing both. This is what the birth control is. This is why they put the IUDs in a third world nation. This is why they start wars and famines, and this is why so that's lowering the birth rate and the death rate as well. Now you have over hundreds of thousands of people in America alone is missing. Hundreds of thousands annually. I just wanted to throw that out there. Some of the rhetoric from the individuals of the Club of Rome, and this is now tying in to the United Nations. Why is the Club of Rome important? Because they advise the United Nations. Because a lot of their members were somehow at one point associated with the United Nations. Maurice Strong, for example, he was former head of the UN Environment Program. Annie Ehrlich, she was director of Friends of the Earth and Sierra Club, and a member of the UN's Global Roll of Honor. Hassan bin Talal, he was also he was president of the Club of Rome, president of the Arab Thought Forum, and founder of the World Future Council, recently named as the United Nations Champion of the Earth. So these individuals are somehow related or connected with the United Nations. So now they being advised by the Club of Rome, whose ultimate agenda will be to lower the population because they were Malthusians. So now, dealing with this roundtable group that you all know and love and look at on the conspiracy theories videos, you see that dealing with this roundtable group that you all know and love and I'm going to go over the feedback. Conspiracy theories videos. Okay. Oh, you hopping back in? Yeah. So when you're looking at this whole thing, you see ultimately that beginning with the Royal Institute of International Affairs, which we know is the Chatham House. Chatham House was started by Lionel Curtis. Lionel Curtis was a protege of Alfred Milner, who was a protege of Cecil Rhodes. They established this roundtable group for what? To establish this one world government of British rule throughout the world, right? So they established this Royal Institute of International Affairs. In that meeting, Prince Bernhard, and I want to beat this in your head, Prince Bernhard, Joseph Ritticher would attend the meeting of the Chatham House. And it would be him that actually communicate with American philanthropists. And he would be the co-founder of the Bilderberg Group. The other co-founder would be Prince Bernhard, who was a Nazi. The American branch of the Royal Institute of International Affairs would be the Council on Foreign Relations. Once again, started by Lionel Curtis. And this is all, designing this whole thing to actually begin the talk of a one world government. Once again, the Rockefellers played a crucial role in the Council on Foreign Relations development. They will also be helping Nazi Germany, and they will be also the founders of the Club of Rome. The Club of Rome would advise the United Nations. And then once again, that's what we already talked about. The Club of Rome, are actually Malthusians who are trying to find unique ways of, lowering the population and justifying a sophisticated form of eugenics. Because all these individuals, that's what I've seen, were eugenicists. All right. So once again, to wrap this up, because there's only one thing left, the Trilateral Commission was founded by David Rockefeller. I mean, I don't really know more to say after that. So David Rockefeller, who was also funding Nazi Germany, eugenics, population control, they created the Population Council, they founded the Club of Rome, they helped finance Adolf Hitler, they supported eugenics organizations here in America. They are also, they are also the individuals that actually founded the Trilateral Commission. The importance of the Trilateral Commission, it was developed in the 70s to actually include certain groups, Asian groups into this whole New World Order agenda. All right. So other founders, I think that this man, Zygmunt Brzezinski, he is one of the co-founders of the Trilateral Commission. And I think he was one of the individuals that was promoting that NSSM document, and himself and Henry Kissinger, and that the National Security Studies Memorandum 200, where they was talking about using vaccines to lower the population. So to wrap this up, once again, you can see all these individuals together, the Rockefellers, Zygmunt Brzezinski, an establishment of this Trilateral Commission. And this would be, on a lesser extent of, an extension, as what you can see, of the Council on Foreign Relations, So it says in April 1974, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, CFR Trilateralist member Richard Garner's published an article in the CFR's Foreign Affairs, The Hard Road to World Order, where he states that the House of World Order will have to be built from the bottom up rather than from the top down. But an end run around national sovereignty, eroding it piece by piece, will accomplish much more than the old-fashioned frontal assault. What is that saying? What you're seeing here is the depletion of national sovereignty. And this is what some of the conservative white people are arguing when you talk about the Tea-Bag Party and all these extremists and some of the people that ran into the White House early in January and all these, they believe, they know that national sovereignty is being uprooted here in the United States, and they're doing that through immigration, because they want to take away the American values, this nationalistic culture that developed here in the hells of North America. They want to erode. So what they do is bring all other nationalities that really don't have that connection into the United States. And the common white person sees that, and that's what they're, one of the things that they're rebelling against. And they another strategy is to bring down the morality, of the United States. And this is like, the promotion of different lifestyles that would actually reshape the thinking of the children ultimately. So this is how you destroy a nation. You can look at the Protocols of Zion. They actually laid down a lot of this in that document. So in a nutshell, to wrap this up, now we have the full picture of how the secret societies are designed, who are the corporates, the names, and the organizations that actually were able to orchestrate this. I appreciate your time. I'll pan this thing back over to my man, Tarka Bay.
Bro, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear nothing.
Oh, you can't hear me?
That's why you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Hold on. That's why I was making noise in the back. I couldn't hear nothing. I don't know why.
Yeah, because I know before.
Check your head if you can hear me. So look, I don't know why I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all. However, family, what I want to do is, I know y'all can hear me because I can hear it on my phone, but what I want to do is, I want to bring Solarmind back. I don't know. Are you finished yet?
Oh, yeah, we're done.
I was good. I was right with you, and then it just dropped off. But I mean, I can hear you through my phone if you're not finished, and then we can close out. But even when you finish, okay. Listen, but I want us to come back and to be able to question you. I think 275 people are listening to this knowledge is good. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, like George said, we don't have the 1600 when we got the drama, but I take, as I keep telling people, whether you believe in Jesus or not, it took 12 disciples, whether it's a made-up story or a literal story. Out of those 12 disciples, we still talking about that story 2,000 years later. So it just took 12 and 1, 13 people. Uh-oh, Illuminati. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. But whatever the case may be, so this number right here is good for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I would take the
were they able to hear me?
With the biggest heart, as opposed to the great number with the weak back. They ain't got no backbone. They got a jellyfish spine. You know what I mean? So I'm good with this.
Can y'all hear me in the chat?
So you want to close this out, brother?
Yeah. I'm can y'all hear me in the chat? I'm gonna close this out once again, giving a shout out.
That's crazy.
Giving a shout out to the brother, and yeah, you're gonna have to play the actual stream so you can hear me. I'm gonna give a shout out to Taharka Bay. Okay, I'm glad that y'all was able to hear it, and I could come on, and I got other PowerPoints that I actually give into other things. I have a PowerPoint that I actually did on Minister Inky channel where I was breaking down the Darwinian theory of evolution and how it ties into population control and things of that nature. So I go a little bit more in depth into the population control and things of that nature. So once again, shout out to Taharka Bay for giving me the platform to actually bring out this information. He can't even. I gotta give hand signals to him. All right.
So anyway, that's what it is, family. I don't know what happened, but whatever happened, I'm gonna fix it in a minute because I got some breaking news that I want to break. I'm gonna be back in a minute. But Solarmind, I definitely appreciate you, bro. Sister Faith, what did Faith say? Faith had mentioned that there is so much that you have given us to unpack that now we need to come back and do number 2. And so on that part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to unpack what we already got. Everybody, bring your questions. I'm going to start a community board. Somebody, I think it was Sister Mammy out of Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, out of Dallas. So I'm going to create a community board. And when I create this community board, we'll be able to go to this board and we'll be able to get them questions. Solar Vision Debate League, led by Solarmind, will be able to go and see the question and prepare for the answers. And we're going to start bringing the knowledge back to these platforms. These platforms wasn't meant for the circus and horse and pony show, but I have to go there because they went there. And we got to get them out of the way so we can get back to this. You know what I mean? We need to get people interested in learning, get people interested in awareness, and get people interested in real activism. Activism it may start here, but it doesn't end here. Activism is boots on the ground, but this right here should inspire you and motivate you. And so I'm all in, brother. I can't wait to next go around. Next week. It is what it is. Next week, and that's what it is. All right, brother. Salute, family. So I'm gonna exit this out. I don't know if y'all gonna be with me. But I have breaking news. But I gotta make sure that my sound is right before I start. So in about 10 minutes, I'll be right back. 10 minutes, I'll be right back. Or before 10 minutes. I'm coming back, family. I'm coming back.